huge thank you to everybody that came out today. Some people have came from different cities, different states, so I appreciate every single one of you guys. I appreciate all the moderators that pulled up as well. Cris pulled up from New York, so I know we had a couple people coming out as well, so I appreciate you guys. I also appreciate you guys being in the room, and you guys could be you can be doing anything else with your time today. You decided to be here to invest in yourself, so shout out to you guys. And then shout out to the COSIGN team, KG and the whole team. We came together to put this on for the Latino community. So I'm excited to jump into this conversation. And thank you guys once again. So I got a phenomenal man up here. We actually got the chance to record something last night. I got to know him a little bit more. So I think it'd be a great time to get to know your story, to get to know you. And ultimately what I want to do on this conversation is really dive deep into the mindset that's needed to accomplish everything that we've been speaking about today. I'd love to know your background, your story. You got a phenomenal story, so let's kick us off.
Definitely. How's everybody doing? Good. Aside from the story, I also want you guys to also ask questions. I'm considered a polymath. I've been diving into so many different topics: business credit building, financial trading. I work with hedge funds and stuff like that. So I definitely want you guys to please ask questions. So my name is Cris Munoz. I am the CEO of Level Up Enterprises. I was born in the Dominican Republic, a small town called Rincon La Vega. And to paint that picture is a town where it's just dirt roads. Kids don't even have the proper nutrition to even grow. Nobody has resources. Like the roof of the homes are zinc, which is casa de zinc. And casa de zinc is where over time they will create holes, and if it rains, everybody will definitely get wet. So definitely from very humble beginnings, very, very happy to be here and very honored to be here as well.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. And let's dive deep into your background. And I know, I think at the age of 12, you and your mom moved to New York City, and you had to hustle to help your family out and be there and support. Talk to us about you growing up and that mentality, where it came from.
Honestly, it came from just being in Rincon La Vega. I knew that we needed a change. We needed to change the paradigm when it comes to our community. We went to New York City, Uptown Washington Heights. I'm from 6 Block City. I'm from 160th and Broadway. I'm very, very proud to be from there. And honestly, it's a neighborhood that really taught me a lot. And when you come from that neighborhood and you're 12 years old and you see that the only time that a black or brown man or lady dresses up is when she has to go to a funeral or go to court at a very early age, that already tells you, man, we need change. And that's what I wanted to instill when it comes to my community. So at 12 years old, my father left the house. I started selling sneakers on 161st and Broadway. I was giving out pamphlets. I was also fixing computers. I've always been very, very, very tech savvy. And I was like the computer guy for the family and for the block, for everybody in the in that neighborhood. And I started removing viruses, motherboards, and stuff like that. But that was the way for me to start hustling and getting to it. And every single dollar that I got from those different initiatives, I will bring it back to my community and bring it back to my family. So at that time, at 12 years old, I was making about $200 a week. And I would come back home at the end of a long week and give everybody in my family $10, $20, $10. I would stay with $10 because I knew that with $10, I would definitely get by. So one of the things that I had to do to be able to commute was hop the train. As you know, hop the train, we do that. That's easy work, So I was hopping the train every single day to be able to save that $2. My mom will give me an allowance of only $10 a week. And I would tell myself, my week is, my challenge is to save $10 to be able to give it back to her. Right? So I will hop the train. I will walk from 160th all the way to Central Park to play baseball, all these different ways. But once I saw that, it really gave me the vision that I needed to become. I needed to become somebody. Most people that come from where we come from, as you know, top OGs, kingpins, like you don't really hear people really doing great stuff from where we come from. There's limited resources, there's limited education. Nobody really preaching positivity when it comes to our community. So I knew that I needed to now become who I am today and then bring that knowledge, that wisdom back into my community.
being in that environment, what principles did you learn from being there that you can apply today?
Persistence. You know, when you want to go, when you want to dream, and I look at everybody here, and I can tell that everybody has a vision here. When you close your eyes, if you were to close your eyes right now for 15 seconds, you have a vision of who you want to be, right? Become. God did not put that vision in your head if you're not possible of getting that done. So I feel like persistence, having faith, having belief, and not waiting for permission to live the life that you want to live and create. I think a lot of people are just waiting by, and we're getting, we are waiting for an okay from other people, getting that permission to get going. At 12 years old, I was a hustler. Everybody knew me, in my neighborhood, and I told everybody, I will become somebody, but it comes from within. It doesn't come from external validations. It comes from me knowing who I am, the challenge that I have, the mission that I'm here for. So I think that persistence overall is definitely what I apply today.
And why do you think people are looking for that validation? Why do you think people are waiting? And just, I know you and I were talking yesterday, and you were saying people almost live robotic. Why do you think that is?
You know why? It's because most of our families, we're all immigrants, right? We come from immigrant parents. We come into a system that we don't even understand. People are coming through the Darien, which is the jungle, to come to the USA for the American dream. People don't really understand what the American dream really is. How can you prevail in a system you don't even understand, right? So I feel like we live in a system of indoctrination, from a mental standpoint, to a financial standpoint, to a pharmaceutical standpoint, to what we eat, to what we drink. Everything is controlled. And I really want everybody here today to please wake up, and wake up those around you. So it all starts, when we're very small, we all have the biggest dreams. Our eyes light up when we talk about our dreams. If we go back to when we were 5, 6, 7 years old, that little boy, that little girl, if you right now, you would think, you know what, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be this. I want to be a doctor. You didn't have any limitations. But what happens as you get older and you hear the fears, the limitations from your family, from your environment, from things like that, now that little boy, that little girl that had so much joy, now that's diminishing every single day. And that's what the system does, because the system wants you to think that you can't do it, right? It wants you to think that if you step out of your comfort zone, out of your safe harbor, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be the end of the world. So it starts with that. It starts with the mental limitations that the system puts on us, especially Black and Latin people, that we can't get it done. And think about growing up in a household or a environment or a community where people don't even know what the stock market is. We see all these numbers going up and down, and we don't even stop to question, maybe I should get into that. Or maybe your mom telling you, bueno, eso no para ti, eso para gente blanca. Right? So it's those small things that we continue to hear that limits what we could do when it comes to our beliefs every single day.
We can just end it right now. You know what I'm saying? We can just end it right now. No, but so let me ask you this. So you're 12, you're hustling, you're selling CDs, you're doing your thing, you're trying to provide, you're developing leadership skills, and you are looking at yourself in the mirror and you're saying, I have to be the one. What comes next? What's the next thing for you at that point in your life?
Yeah, at that point, I was becoming a learning it all. My mom bought me a big Dell computer with the big box. And I remember my brother broke it and I put it all back together. My mom said, you know what? You would be good in tech. And I told my mom, one day I will work for Microsoft one day. And I got stuck to that. I started playing baseball. At the time, I couldn't play baseball because my father didn't want me to really play baseball because he found it to be a burden to pick me up. Stuff like that happens when it comes to life, right? But those are the things that teach you. How bad do you want it, right? In my neighborhood, I had to go to Central Park to be able to find my sanctuary. And my sanctuary was on a baseball field. Because where I come from, when you go to a school, let's say like G-Dubs, like STIT, like IS 90, on your way to school, you can't even think about the homework or the topics that are going to be covered. Why? Because you're thinking about avoiding every other gang from every other block. And that's where I come from. So I started playing baseball. I was definitely locked in when it comes to that. I was all in. And from there, I got many opportunities to go travel. I played for USA Baseball. I played for Perfect Game. I played with Manny Machado. I played with so many different great athletes. And that was definitely the one thing that kind of kept me in the right path.
Now I got to ask you, how can you bring up the decision that you had to make? I believe you were 16 years old. You were offered two different decisions to go to Michigan State or to play professional baseball with the Dodgers, which is everybody's dream, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that moment, those conversations with your mom, and what went into the mindset of the decision that you ultimately made.
Yeah. And honestly, I started playing baseball and I was locked in at 12. If I would have started at 6, 7, how most kids do, I would have been a professional baseball player. I still had the opportunity to become a professional baseball player. My mom, being a Latin mom, said no. Why? Because she really was, honestly, if you were to come over to my house at the age of 8, you thought my house was a school. Timetables and all types of stuff around. She really honed in on the power of knowledge. So she told me, you know what? A lot of people get injured. They go play pro ball, AA, AAA, single A. They mess up their shoulder and their life is over after that. I don't want that for you. I want you to go to Michigan State University, get a bachelor's degree and then from there, continue to scale. So honestly, I cried for days. Days. It was a very tough conversation. I was offered $500,000 at 16 years old. $500,000 even today in my neighborhood. You got to stay quiet and you got to get out because that's a lot of money, right? So not having the opportunity to capitalize on that opportunity was definitely heartbreaking, but I still went to Michigan State University on a full ride scholarship to play baseball, right? And that's where I got my bachelor's in computer science, and then I graduated and got the opportunity to work for Microsoft as well.
Talk about that opportunity.
Oh, so that's a good thing. Thank you. And we talked about this yesterday. When you go to college, you got to make sure you really put in the reps and people get to know you. I feel like people go to college, yeah, you party and stuff like that, but make sure people know you, that your guidance counselor, I think you do have, like every single quarter you have a meeting with them. Most people are missing those meetings. Why? Because they was out partying or at a frat party or whatever it is. No, you got to make sure that you actually go and you make yourself known. So I was one of those folks that people would tell me as a freshman, don't go to the career fair. Where was I at? At the career fair with a resume, a little button down from I think H&M or something like that. And I was still very persistent when it comes to people getting to know me. And then I started the first technology group at Michigan State University called Leaders in IT. And the whole scope behind that was for me to bring exposure to the students that are going to college, so now that they can get internships and full-time opportunities like Google, like Microsoft, like Apple. So
don't leave out that you damn it, the only Dominican up in there.
Yeah, right? Bro. Michigan facts. State. You know what it is to be in Michigan, East Lansing. Like, you know what it is to be in East Lansing, Michigan, cold. When I'm telling you cold, I've never in my life have ever experienced cold like that. It's -30, -40, and I'm on a little moped going to baseball practice. I'm trying to kickstart it, for 10 minutes, and I'm freezing outside. And that's where I really came from. And, I didn't have that fellowship with other Latin people because it was mostly white folks there at Michigan State University. But by the time that I graduated senior year, I was responsible for leading the entire career fair. And that's when I got the opportunity to meet recruiters, and I graduated with 16 offers out of college. Microsoft was one that, as I said, I told my mom I will work for Microsoft. And that's when I got my 6-figure offer at the age of 20. And at the age of 20, I was able to retire my mom. I'm 30 now. So my mom, she hasn't worked in 10 years. She won't work a day in her life ever again. Actually, multiple people in my family won't have the need to work anymore. And it's just because of the hard work that I was able to put in.
That's a blessing. So let me ask you this. I know we also spoke about people not having that dog mentality in them, right? Just really going all in, going after for what they want, right? I think we were talking about like putting in job offers. You were like, yo, are you putting in 50, 100 job offers a day to get what you want? Are you doing the thing that you want? Are you doing the things you need to get what you want? Talk about that and what you had to go through to get to where you're at now.
Oh, man. I'll start, first of all, with commitment. I feel like people lack commitment. I feel like a lot of people don't even know themselves. If you don't know yourself, you're not going to succeed out here in this system, right? I think it takes time. And that's why when it comes to like investing, like the panel and everything like that, when it comes to stocks, everything you do in life is personal. It's on you. If you don't know who you are and the vision of what you actually want, you will not get anywhere. It's that simple. I said yesterday, which is, I alluded to that this morning, but when you're born into this world, you don't even get to decide your name, right? It's always external things put onto you. When are you going to finally wake up and say, you know what? I'm going to get to it. I want this vision. For some people, success is $10 million. For other people, success may be a corporate job with a great family and you live. That's your definition of success. So don't allow someone else's, path to, dictate yours. And, when it comes to that, at the age of 16, I got to Michigan State University. That summer, I got the opportunity to go back to the hood or I stay in Michigan. I said, you know what? I'm going to stay in Michigan. And then from there, I'm going to go down to Virginia and get a door-to-door sale opportunity selling kids' books. And you can only imagine what I went through that. The racism in Richmond, Virginia is ridiculous. When I'm telling you ridiculous, it's ridiculous. I'm talking about, I didn't have the opportunity to operate a car or buy a car. My mom didn't have the opportunity to buy me a car. Other people that were part of the internship, of course, they had a car. I was given a road bike with a baby seat in the back. And that was my vehicle for the entire summer. I was biking 30 to 40 miles per day, knocking door to door. I was getting doors shut in front of me. I had people come out with shotguns sometimes. There were people who would tell me, listen, you're kind, I wouldn't walk past that road. That's the type of environment that I was in. But it told me, it definitely taught me resilience. And I feel like when you commit to a goal, when you commit to a vision, there has to be a phase of declaration that I will never give up. And me coming from Washington Heights, I told myself, I will be the one to become and be able to bring that back. So I went through a lot of all-nighters and stuff like that, but it definitely helped me come here.
As you're doing door-to-door knocking in Virginia, you're at Michigan State, how are you dealing with the criticism from back home? Right? Maybe you have some friends in the neighborhood like, yo, Cris, he could have went to the league. He didn't go. Now he's in Michigan knocking on doors. Did you get that criticism? And if so, how did you deal with that ultimately?
I feel like it's a lonely road, right? It's a lonely road when you are in that journey to getting to success. And you gotta cherish that. That's where the magic is at. Like, honestly, now me looking back, I'm like, man, once you get to the goal, you're gonna be happy about it. But what you're gonna really be happy is about who you became throughout that, that entire journey. So I feel like people didn't really criticize me. If anything, I was looked at as a hero because I was the only person that actually took the risk when it comes to my community. I feel like every single person, we all have that vision, and the vision is right there. The championship, is right there. How many people actually go and have the courage and be brave enough and say, you know what, I don't care what I go through, I'm still going to get to it? Very few people, right? So people definitely saw me as a hero. Until this day, they see me as a hero because I was the only one, out of my entire community to do it. You got to think about it like this. The folks that I was playing baseball with, most of them are dead or not in jail. So me coming home, I was spreading light. And that's why I highly encourage everybody here. I don't care where you go to. You could go to Guatemala, you could go to Mexico, you go to DR, PR. Anywhere you go, you speak life into people. Why? Because we live in an environment where we suppress our people. Right? We talked about this yesterday. How come people don't talk about money when it comes to Latin and Black folks? Why? Because everything is a competition. Right? Okay, you got that car, I gotta get a better car than you. Oh, you got that house, I gotta get a better house than you. Why do we have to compete when we can collaborate and just take over? Since 1971, which is when the money, everything when it comes to money changed here. When it comes to the US dollar. Since 1971, we have not been backed by gold. Right? And we have been, people said that, slavery, ended a long time ago. This is modern slavery. This system we live in today is modern slavery. How about if we were together, we get together when we finally stand up? Things will change. Things will change. That's why whenever our own people were beefing and the Cardi B and this and that and this and the third, why do you think the press loves that? Because that's the message that they want to convey, is that we can we cannot collaborate. It's good for us to compete. When on the other hand, what we should be doing is speaking life into each other. Back then, I'm a noob. So a noob is, I'm part of Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated. And one of my mentors told me, back then, in the 1980s, 1970s, when a brother like ours had a problem in his household, we would go over to his household and we would not leave until it was rectified. Does that happen today? No. If somebody can't pay their bills, we laugh at them. So that's the problem that we come from, and that's why I feel like there's so many mental limitations when it comes to our community.
Talk about some of the solutions that you're providing now for the community and the collaboration that you're doing with your company. So you're at Microsoft, you're finding some success, but you're also realizing that you got that magic in you, that there's something that you want to build, right? Talk about what you're currently doing right now.
Yeah, so when I got to Microsoft, I got there at the age of 20. My biggest goal was to become a learn-it-all. And anywhere you guys go, please become a learn-it-all. Don't become a know-it-all. Why? Because we live in a society that's driven by ego. Kill your ego. Surrender a little bit. Just kill your ego a little bit, surrender a little bit, and I can guarantee you life will start changing for you. And when I got there, I was a consultant. I was traveling every single week. And when I was traveling out there, I was competing with older men that had 10, 20 years in tech. I'm a kid that just got out of college, So once I was able to understand how Microsoft works, the different business models of Microsoft, how to conduct a presentation, how to speak in public, how to close deals, right? Once I got those skills out of Microsoft, I told myself, well, a big problem that we have right now when it comes to our community is that nobody invests their money. Nobody understands their credit. People think that credit is a joke, when at the end of the day, it's 3 numbers that control our lives. It controls where you live at. It controls what car you drive. It controls absolutely everything, right? When it comes to that, how many people actually take out loans? Because people are scared of debt, not knowing that debt is tax-free, and that everything, when it comes to everything that you see outside right now, is revolved around debt. How many people understand how money actually works? So I told myself, I need to change the paradigm. So I created Level Up Enterprises. Level Up Enterprises started with just weekly classes talking about like for example, personal budgeting, stock investing and everything like that. Now we're at the point where we have 7 different companies under Level Up. And to be honest, I told you this yesterday. So more than oftentimes, people look for a blueprint. What's the blueprint? What's the recommendation? Let's go ahead and Google how's the best way to do this. Why don't you take that task on yourself and you find yourself and you document yourself and you create your own intellectual property? Because that's what we're here to do. As humans, as people part of this universe, we came here to create. And it's that simple. And one of the biggest things that I say, don't work for money, work for your purpose. Why? Because the money that you're working for right now is fictitious numbers. Fictitious numbers that have no backup, right? Back then in 1971, if you had $10,000, you got $10,000 worth of gold. Go try to get gold at Chase, at Bank of America, Wells Fargo. You can't. Why? Because they don't even have any reserves in their bank. That's why every single time there's a money glitch when it comes to Bank of America, or somebody wants to withdraw $50,000, it becomes a problem. And all of a sudden, people fighting at the branch. Well, why are people fighting at the branch? Because the money that we are working so hard for is fictitious. The reason why Louis Vuitton is able to charge $2,000 for a bag they probably make for $100 is because we give them the power to charge $2,000. Right? So it's things like that I always hone in on, and that I really feel is the foundation to become successful. If you do not understand how money works, I don't care if you're talking about quantum fixes, AI, you will not succeed. And I got a question for everybody here. I'm going to go through a quick scenario, if you don't mind.
I was going to say, I want you to ask that question to everybody. Yeah, so they can marinate on that. Because they're going to ask you some questions. Ask them that question.
Let's do it. So a couple of different things. Let's say somebody wants to get a house. What's the first thing that they check? Credit, right? So we got credit. Credit is led by credit bureaus. First of all, the only bureau that exists is the FBI. Anything else is not really a bureau. It's a scam, right? On top of that, credit is controlled by 3 different credit, quote unquote, bureaus, which is Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, right? A lot of people think that these 3 companies are tied to the federal government. These companies are private companies that one day woke up and said, let's make the lives of people here in the US a living hell, where we go ahead and we report a whole different report that maybe you're the most noble person in the world. Well, the credit report don't care. Why? Because whatever's on that credit report dictates how you live. Okay? So let's say we walk into the bank, we have a great credit score of 750, and we get a loan for $500,000. Where does the bank get that money from? From who? From everybody else's money? So that's a really, really good thing. And that's, by the way, is called fractional reserve lending or fractional reserve banking. We were taught as kids, especially when it comes to the Latin community, you should save your money, right? But what happens when you save your money? When you save your money and you put your money into a bank, first of all, they're giving you 0.01%. They can honestly keep it, right? Because that ain't shit, to be honest. Most people don't really talk about a high yield savings account, which, by the way, for those that are from here from Dallas, you can go to On Path Credit Union. On Path Credit Union will give you 7.5% on your checking account balance. You can also go to Landmark Premium Credit Union as well, 7.5% when it comes to your money as well. Okay, let's continue. So after you do that, right, the bank takes your money and they lend it forward. So if you put $100, they're gonna make 1,000 out of it. 1,000 makes 10,000. 10,000 makes 100,000. 100K makes $1 million. You think you're safe because your money's in a bank, but the bank is using your money to get richer. Why don't you use the bank's money, the other people's money, so you can amass the wealth? Because that's not taught when it comes to our community. It will never get taught when it comes to one of these schools. Why? Because they don't want to empower kids at such a young age to have that creativity when it comes to money, right? So let's say we do get approved, right? We get 500K. Where does the 500K, really come from? We think it comes from other people's accounts, but money is created out of thin air. Money is created, as crazy as it sounds, money is created out of thin air. The bank is literally putting 500, 000 keystrokes into a computer system. This is how fucked up our system is, right? And then from there, you get 500K. But it doesn't just stop there. Now you're gonna pay me interest on this funny money that we just created out of nowhere. Why? Because you can't compare the US dollar to any tangible asset. And that's what's happening right now. And on top of that, you get taxed on the money that you also make. And then inflation goes up every single day, which means that your hour of work, they're diminishing the value of your hour of work. That's why I say don't work for money, work for your purpose. Why? Because the money system is rigged. It's a complete scam. So then after you get the house and you get approved for the house, they're going to give you 3 different pills. A red pill, a blue pill, and they just created a new pill. 15 years of slavery, 30 years of slavery, or 40 years of slavery. If I'm 30 years old and I buy a home right now and I go for the 40 year, you're telling me I'm going to wait till I'm 70 to finally say I paid off my home when all I've been doing is just paying off interest? That's not the way to live. That's not the way to live. And that's what most people don't understand when it comes to our financial banking system. Right? So at 70 years old, you finally say, I paid off the home. But wait, the ladder doesn't stop right there. Oh no, property taxes. Now you got to pay property taxes. And what happens if you don't pay your property taxes? Now you got a tax lien. Now the bank that said, oh my God, congrats, Chris. You got approved for 500K. Okay, now let me get the back right. Listen, I need the house back because you can't pay it off and you're not behaving. Because we live in a world, in a system of behavior. Again, it is a behavioral system, whether you behave or not. And if the bank doesn't, then you're going to have a savvy real estate entrepreneur that's going to go to court and they're going to bid on your house. Start bidding, start bidding, start bidding. All that hard work of 40 years is out the door. And that's the problem when it comes to our system. So that's what we do with Level Up. We teach people and we wake them up when it comes to the system. And then we teach them how to leverage credit, how to get a great profile, start taking loans out these banks because they do the same thing with us. So if you want to play ball, yeah, we definitely going to play ball for sure. And I'm going to take a loan out for 150K. And out of the 150K, I'm going to go ahead and get a truck for 20, 30K out of the auction. And now I got a transportation business. Cris Munoz transportation business. Let's get it. That's how we design our legacy right there.
No, I love that. So I want you to ask that question that you asked me last night to the audience. I want them to marinate on it, right? Yeah, and then we're going to open up the floor to questions to everybody else. We'll get about 2 to 3 questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, one of the biggest things when it comes to life, and I'm telling you guys, I failed. I've gone through it. I'm one to say I never had a childhood just because I had to get to it at a very young age. I never had no summer vacations. My vacations were on a field, looking darker than this because the sun hitting all day, But one of the things that I really want you guys to hone in on is oftentimes we think about, what do you want from life? Some may want a big home. Some may want to break some sort of, generational curses. But I really want you guys to really think about, and even if you got a journalist, please journal, please reflect, process your emotions. It's really, really critical when it comes to your mental health. But I really want you guys to ask yourself, what does life want out of you? When you think about that, what does life want out of you? And I thought about that and I told myself, wow, Chris, what does life want out of you? Well, I think life wants me to inspire, to empower, to speak life into people. Life wants me to wake people up when it comes to our system. Life wants me to be a public servant to my community, where if I'm outside and I see a brother of mine, I'm going to make sure that we just stick together. So what does life want out of you? Please take a time, a second. And if you guys want to say what you think life wants out of you, but I think it's such a profound question for you to ask yourself, because that's your true purpose and mission when it comes to this life that we live in every day.
I love it. Cris Munoz, everybody give it up. All right, so we'll take a couple questions if we have any.
Thanks again for all the wise words, Chris. I appreciate you being here. Una cosa, so I work with KG here at COSIGN. I'm the director for La Vida COSIGN, and I wanted to ask a question that I kind of keep coming across when it comes to the young entrepreneurs in the world, or here in Dallas, más bien. What's one thing that we can, I'm gonna say it in Spanish, inculcar in the younger Latin community when it comes to the importance of being here at places like this, like you said, where we're not going to learn much about life in schools, but más bien hay que estar aquí en estos lugares. How can we translate that, or how can we get that message across into the young community so they themselves can wake up and realize maybe this is not the type of world that I want to be living in when I grow up?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it starts with the foundation of understanding the knowledge of the system that we truly live in. I also feel like if you have kids, start speaking to them. Start speaking life into them. You don't know what day they had at school. Think about it. School's a whole system. It's a whole system. I'm telling you, if they really wanted us to win, think about it. What do you think the government would do whatever it takes to make sure we win? So I would say that it really starts at home. It starts at home, and it starts with asking the really tough questions when it comes to your kids. Ask him, listen, what are you interested in? We don't get that question in school. In school, your teacher never asks you, what do you want to learn today? No, you have a whole curriculum from kindergarten all the way to senior year that makes you believe that you could do things, but what it does is that it trains you to follow rules. There's kids out there that at a very young age, you could tell that they have that courageous attitude. Let them never suppress that. Let them be who they are. So I truly feel like we need to also have events for kids. We need to have events for kids. Why don't we have financial literacy events for kids? You barely even hear about financial literacy books for adults. Why don't we start creating games for kids? Like, I was talking to one of my colleagues the other day, and I said, listen, it would be great if you can create kind of like a Monopoly game board, but on credit. So kids starts to understand how to be responsible when it comes to their money. So kids can understand that now with AI and all these different things when it comes to tech, they can create whatever comes to their head. And I think that if we are able to invest into our kids at a very young age, I don't think our kids will be employees when it comes to this system. Like me, I have a son now. He's 8 months now. And I do plan that by the time, this is a big challenge for me, but by the time he's 6 or 7, I would love for him to start trading, even on a paper account. Or maybe I give him $1,000, and if you blow it, that's cool, but I want you to get the reps in. I want you to get the reps in so that I can see if you really like it. And then if you really like it, who knows, by the time you're 16, you're managing millions of dollars. By the time you're 20, 25, you have your own hedge fund or capital management firm. So I feel like it's on us. It's our responsibility to conduct that knowledge transfer when it comes to the youth.
First of all, I salute you. I feel like I'm seeing my younger version of myself in you, being from Washington Heights. there's a saying about life that says, when you're born, you look like your parents. Oh, he's got his face, he's got his cheeks, you look like your parents. But when you die, you look like your decisions. And I'm wondering, for you, looking back in hindsight, what was that one, if there's a single decision that you made out of life that sort of started changing the trajectory of your life? Like for me, I was 18, graduated G-Dubs, and I moved to California, Silicon Valley. That opened me up to a whole new world, from one coast to the other. That was a change for me that opened up my mind. But what was yours?
I'll say two. Two at a very young age, and then one when I was 16. I would say when I was 12, the high school that I went to, if you had a phone out, forget about it. That's gone. I've seen friends of mine get robbed at gunpoint. And it was one day I had practice, and I was going to join a gang. I was going to join OY, which is part of Bloods. And when you get initiated into those gangs, you get beat up pretty badly. And I was ready to take that risk just to protect my family. Why? Because I went to school with my brother. I went to school with my cousins. I went to school with neighbors. And to me, I've always been the one to sort of lead and protect. So that was definitely one that I would say I did not go to the initiation. And it was my coach that called me and told me, listen, you better get your ass to practice. Right? So that's one thing that kind of shifted me, because if I would have gone down that route, I wouldn't be here right now on stage, just talking to you guys. That's number one. Number two would definitely be going to Michigan State University. You know that folks from New York never leave New York, especially for college. Why? Because your parent is scared about what may happen. I will never forget, we cried I'm talking about my whole block was in my house, and we cried. Why? Because I was going to Michigan State University. Once I got to Michigan State University, I got into my uncomfortable zone, and I was able to go into another environment. And that was kind of what gave me the clarity when it comes to my vision. And then on top of that, I would definitely say working at Microsoft gave me all the experience I needed and the skills to be able to create the companies that I have today.
Oh, bueno, mi pregunta es algo similar a lo que hizo Paloma, solamente que yo me dedico a entrenar contratistas, subcontratistas a ser contratistas, ¿verdad? Entonces, ¿cómo harías tú para cambiarle la mente a alguien ya grande, a alguien ya mayor? O sea, ¿cómo tú lo llevarías a otro nivel? Eso es algo que me cuesta a veces como explicarle a las personas de, ok, tú puedes tomar el control del proyecto en vez de que solamente te contraten para hacer una parte. O sea, que tú tomes todo. Que yo haga todo, que esa persona haga todo. O sea, a lo que yo me dedico son a los claims al seguro. Sí. Entonces, pues nosotros subcontratamos a otra persona para que haga el trabajo, ¿no? Sí. Entonces, yo lo que estamos enseñando es a las personas que subcontratamos a ser el contratista. ¿Cómo tú le cambiarías la mente a alguien a aspirar a algo más? Aspirar a algo más. Bueno, todo depende en la persona. Yo creo que cada persona tiene que enfocarse en su visión y tienen que dejar de las limitaciones. Yo creo que para cualquier persona que quiere cambiar su mente, primeramente tiene que sentarse con ella misma y tiene que tener esa conversación. Lo que pasa es que esa conversación es demasiado incómoda. Hay muchas personas que están en una etapa de su vida que creen que como que su vida ya se acabó, no sabiendo que mañana se pueden levantar y tener otra diferente perspectiva, hacer otro diferente cambio. Lo que pasa es que el paso número uno es como saber a dónde estás. ¿Entiendes? Y reflexionar de qué pasó. Y después de ahí tener la visión de quién podemos hacer. Yo creo que cada persona tiene que, nadie va a venir a salvarte. Toma ese día, ese final día que tú declaras, yo voy para eso. Y no me importa que yo tengo que pasar, pero yo voy para eso. Y yo creo que hasta que esa persona no tenga esa declaración, son personas que han vivido, pero están muertas. Y han vivido y han tenido 30, 20, 25 años viviendo, pero sin en verdad vivir a su potencial. Yo sé que cada persona que está aquí hoy sabe que ustedes pueden hacer más. Yo sé que cada persona que está aquí sabe que sí, un 80%, pero es 100%, 150%. Yo escuché ahorita, habían personas que estaban hablando del tiempo. No, que puede ser que no tenemos tiempo. Lo que pasa es que nosotros no sabemos cómo manejar nuestro tiempo.
Lo que pasa es que estamos demasiado ocupados en Instagram, en TikTok, en Netflix, lo otro, pero cada persona tiene que pasar por ese momento de declaración. Y cada persona tiene que también ir para atrás. Cada persona que viene a este mundo tiene heridas. Por ejemplo, yo tengo heridas. Yo no me crié con un papá bueno. No me crié, nunca vi una persona que tenía como ese liderazgo. Cada persona también tiene que ver su pasado y tiene que ver su herida y también tiene que curar esa herida. Cada persona, antes de pensar de dinero, cada persona tiene que curarse primero y tener esa conversación bien profunda. Si tiene que llorar, llora. Yo lo he hecho. Yo me he sentado yo solo y yo he pensado de todas las cosas que yo he pasado, de todas las cosas que yo pasé en el barrio, de todas las cosas que yo pasé vendiendo tenis, que al final del día esa tienda era un punto. So, yo desde niño estaba alrededor de droga, de violencia, vi todo, pero que cómo tú puedes evolucionar como persona si tú todavía ni has pensado del pasado. Hay muchas personas que estamos trabajando con demasiada pain, con demasiada dolor. No es bueno trabajar con dolor. Cada persona que se cura puede vivir al 100% y por fin estamos libres. Y no importa si tú tienes 10 pesos o 10 millones de dólares, como quiera, tú te vas a sentir más mejor y te vas a sentir libre. Y ahora tú tienes la oportunidad de tú ser más creativo, tienes la oportunidad de tú pensar más claro. Yo creo que cada persona tiene que pensar en él, tiene que verse adentro antes de ver afuera.
Awesome.
Gracias.
I have one last question for us that kind of goes to your point about the system. We as Latinos live in this system that tells us to think about the individual. Our very DNA is built to think about the collective. So for us, we live in a world where people want to be self-made. I love being community-made. The theme of mentorship has come up often. How has your life journey impacted your mentorship of other people? And what a good mentor?
Really good. Oh my God, that's a great question. That's such a phenomenal question. And first I'm going to say this. Too many people want to be the mentor before they are the mentee. That's the problem when it comes to our community. Too many people want to be the mentor before you're the student. Become the student first. Trust me, I've had mentors that I used to have to open their doors. I'm cool with that. I'm learning. I don't care. I don't care if somebody sees me as weak. I do not care. I'm gaining wisdom. I'm gaining experience. So I feel like when you have the perspective and you live day to day when I don't have all the answers. And if you look at social media, everybody's perfect. There's no bills. There's no rent. People renting out villas. Everybody making millions of dollars a month. That's all BS. And you don't want to live like that. Why? Because when you live like that, you're not complete. You're so empty. You're so empty that your energy, your aura, people can feel that. Right? So I would say what makes a great mentor? A great mentor is someone that will challenge you. It's not someone that's going to baby you.